Hi, everyone. Welcome to the opening day of the Roxbury International Film Festival. We are starting, as we start most weekdays, with our daily script reads. I think you're going to love this exciting script, Gavin, by Jake Maida Vale. And I will have him introduce himself as he's the writer, and then each of the actors will introduce themselves, and off we go.
Hi everyone, I'm Jake Maida Vale and I'm the writer of the script that will be read today for Gavin C.R.S.A.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ashley Aldarondo, and I will be reading for the part of server.
Hi, everybody. My name is Rafael Silva, and I will be playing Felix today.
Hello, my name is Andrea Lyman, and I will be playing Colette Marsh.
Hello, my name is Jamal Perkins, and I'll be reading for Gavin.
Hi, I'm Maria Wilkins, and I will be your narrator. So we begin. Interior, Dr. Colette Marsh's office in the waiting room, afternoon. Gavin fidgets with his thumbs in a leather lounge chair as he awaits his appointment with Dr. Colette Marsh, his therapist. His worried expression etched onto his face as he stares at the floor into oblivion for what seems to be an eternity. Silence seems to permeate the rather sterile waiting room, dotted with splashes of gray, black, and beige among the bare white walls and ceiling. Just then, a door to his left opens, and an older, yet youthful woman with a smiling face and an inviting stature stands in the doorway. Gavin sits in the center of a large, three-seater microfiber gray sofa, feet crossed and hands clasped together, as Colette takes a sip of water and places the glass on the side table to her right, after which she grabs her tape recorder and starts to record the session, placing it on the coffee table directly in front of her.
So, Gavin, what brings you in today?
I have a date this evening.
Well, that's great news, Gavin.
Yeah, thanks. I'm just nervous, like really nervous.
Okay. What would you say is your most prominent reason for your nerves?
Well, I haven't been on a first date in over 5 years, so there's that.
And has that been a deliberate choice of yours, or have you pursued dates that ended up not planning out for one reason or the other?
No, I've kept it pretty casual.
And when you say casual, are we referring to situationships, hookups in the purest sense, or something else?
Uh, 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 hookups, just hookups. In fact, I hooked up with someone a couple nights ago.
What motivated you to pursue that?
I don't know. I wanted sex, and she was sexy.
And once you completed your sexual encounter, was there any desire to stay in contact with her?
No, I wasn't interested in pursuing anything beyond a hookup. You know.
All right. So, what makes your date tonight different?
What do you mean?
Well, I know that for a lot of men, there's far less stigma placed on their sexual promiscuity in general. Of course, when those men have intersectional identities, such as yourself, that stigma increases exponentially. But the fact remains that hooking up is frowned upon less so when a man presenting as masculine in traditionally Western sense engages in that sort of activity. I say all that just to make this point. You could have just chosen to hook up with your potential date tonight without making plans to meet and to get to know each other first. You still have the opportunity to do so after your first date if things go well and there's a mutual consent between the both of you. But what is clear to me about this particular situation is that you're seeking more than just sex with the other person. So, with that being said, what about this person is, I don't know. What is it about this person?
Guy, it's a guy.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. What about this guy changes the nature of your search for a romantic connection from desire of a hookup to a date?
Oh no. I guess I'm just getting tired of looking for love in all the wrong places.
Love.
I mean, I'm using it as a shorthand, but like intimacy, like a romantic connection.
Hmm. That's interesting. Because from what you've shared, you're still not entirely dedicated to avoiding hookups.
I'm not anti-hookup all of a sudden, I could admit that. But I just want to try and form a lasting connection with somebody. And I guess I want what most people do, to meet someone nice and settle down and get married.
Have kids?
No, no, not anytime soon. But I do want more. You know, I, um, I want something more than a temporary flash of sexual electricity. Like I
Mm-hmm.
want romantic stability. Like I want to breathe.
Breathe. Why do you choose that word?
It, I just feel like the last few years have been a roller coaster. It's like everything's been fun, but it's just nonstop. Like I threw myself into work so intensely. I didn't want to spend time doing anything else, building anything else, especially not a relationship, not a home, nothing. And I felt that if I focused on my on if I felt that if I focused on working my way up the corporate ladder and working out, I'd be fine. Um, but of course, no man is an island. So I satisfied my needs when I felt like it was necessary, which is a lot more than I expected. Uh, and I didn't think there was space for me to want more because it didn't fit into my plans. My very clear focus on myself. And now I earn a high six figures. I have a pretty decent body fat percentage. I may make partner at micro, and I'm still lonely. You know, the hookups satisfy me, but they don't satisfy me, if that makes sense. And I just feel like I could finally have a chance to not hold all this in and not hold my breath while I travel at the speed of light, as it were. Um, Something feels different, and it has ever since we started talking to each other a couple weeks ago. I haven't felt this way since my last relationship, which is why I'm worried about this date.
Okay,
Right.
let's try to unpack that. Would you like to explore the relationship that led up to the roller coaster ride you've been on these last few years?
Not right now.
Okay, just so you know, we can explore that at another time. But just know that I want to make sure that you are comfortable with delving into topics that are hard to breach with me. If there's anything I can do to make sure you feel comfortable and make this space safe enough for you to share those experiences, please let me know.
No, I know. I know. I just don't feel like talking about it right now.
Okay, I can respect that. What would you like to discuss, Gavin?
I don't know. Whatever is fine.
All right. Can we talk more about your date this evening?
Sure.
Thank you, Gavin. So, what else worries you about this date?
I just I don't want to mess this up, and I don't want to say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing. And I don't want my date to think I'm weird or something. I just want him to like me.
Let's take that apart. First of all, I like to think of a first date as essentially a romantic job interview with higher stakes. Because both of you have expectations that you'll place on each other and yourselves in a way that is far more personal than a company and a potential employee ever will. I understand that you want to make a good impression and hope that he feels as good about you as you may feel about him. But you've got to remember that there's nothing wrong with you if he doesn't. He doesn't have to like you, and you don't have to like him. That doesn't mean that you're a failure or you won't find love. It just means that one person didn't think you were their person. Second, and most important, it's okay if he finds you weird, as long as he likes that about you and it isn't a negative behavioral trait. I
Okay.
wish I could hear you.
Gavin is not entirely reassured by Colette's words. He's fidgeting with his thumbs.
Okay.
How about this? Let's role play your date.
What?
You heard me. Picture sitting across from your date this evening. He asks you, "Tell me about yourself." What do you say?
Um, I'm Gavin. I work as a conflict resolution senior associate, which means I resolve conflicts for a client, which can be for a variety of issues. Um, though it usually ends up just being for some corporate type that,
Anything else?
what do you mean?
Gavin, who are you outside of work?
I don't know.
I disagree. I think you don't get to explain who you are outside of work often. I think that your date deserves to learn about that part of your life.
Well, I'm pretty guarded about my life outside of work in large part, because there isn't much to me outside of it. But seeing that you know so much, why don't you tell me how to answer that question then?
Nope.
Why not?
Because I'm not going on a date this evening. Look, here's what you want to do on your date. What I want you to do on your date.
You're giving me my homework?
Yes, I am. Okay. Tonight, when you go on your date, I want you to spend at least the first 20 minutes without making a single reference to your work. Now, you can talk about anything else. You can ask your date about their occupation, but you can't speak about your work for at least the first 20 minutes.
Okay, and what if we run out of things to talk about?
Then run out of time in silence, interspersed with chewing and drinking, I suppose.
Okay. And what if I decide I don't even like this guy?
Then I guess you learned something from our session.
Gavin fiddles with his thumbs and sits awkwardly in a two-piece classic black suit with a granddad collar shirt as he nervously looks out the window onto a quiet Brooklyn street of a Chinese restaurant that evening. He's awaiting Felix Alvarez, his date, anticipating his arrival. He adjusts himself several times and gets up from his seat. And as he does so, a server approaches him.
Hello, sir. I just wanted to check in again and find out if you'd like to order anything while you wait for the rest of your party to arrive.
Well, I'll have a glass of your house red.
Sounds good.
The server walks away from Gavin, who starts to look genuinely worried for a few moments until the entrance of the restaurant opens. Gavin is pleased to see a 5'9" man walk through the door wearing a medium blue tank top and loose, flowing black pants. The man makes his way toward Gavin and begins to smile as Gavin reaches out to shake his hand, which the man reciprocates.
Felix, nice to meet you.
Hi, Gavin. I'm sorry I'm late, but work ran over and I lost track of time. The R line is running so slow, and they didn't even announce that they were missing the stop that I needed. So I had to get off a stop later and run all the way here, which is not fun in the middle of summer. It's just so much.
It's listen, it's okay. I'm just glad you showed.
Yeah, so am I.
Felix and Gavin take their respective seats at their table, holding each other's gaze for a brief moment before they adjust their seating position. The server, who observed them from the bar, eagerly rushes over to them with a glass of red wine.
Good evening. Sir, here is your glass of red wine.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
No problem. Uh, Hello, sir. Can I get you something to drink?
Yeah, I'll have a martini.
Thank you, sir. I'll bring that martini over to you and let you get acquainted with the menu.
Thanks.
The server leaves their table and heads towards the bar as silence fills the space between Gavin and Felix for just a few moments, enough to make Felix slightly uncomfortable.
So on a scale of 1 to absolutely terrified, how are you feeling about the state?
Um,
Gavin, who's been looking at the menu intently in order to avoid eye contact, slowly raises his head until it's parallel to Felix and lowers his menu.
is it that obvious?
Yes, and that's okay because I'm nervous too.
Okay.
If it
Okay.
makes you feel better, I've not been on a date in like quite a while, so I get it.
Yeah. No, thanks.
All right, well, let's get the most important question out of the way first. Are you a fan of Beyonce?
Of course I am.
Good. At least I don't have to come up with a terrible excuse for leaving you stranded.
I'm sorry, is Beyonce a deal breaker?
Yes, she got me through some hard times, so if you like her, you've got a shot with me.
Okay. Any other deal breakers I should know about?
Mm, there's a few.
The server approaches with a glass and places it on the table next to Felix.
Okay, are you both ready to order?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should go first.
It's okay. You can go first.
Well, I'm still deciding my entree, so you might as well place your order first. You got
Okay,
it.
okay, thanks. I'll have the house fried rice.
Anything else for you?
No, that's good.
Any allergies?
No, none at all.
Thank you, sir. Uh, and for you, sir?
Um, Sure, I'll have the pork dumplings, steamed with a side of white rice and a serving of char sweet chicken.
Any food allergies we should be aware of?
I don't possess any food allergies.
Thank you, sir. I'll leave the menu with you in case you decide to order anything else.
Thanks.
So, where are we?
I think I was listing my deal breakers.
Besides Beyonce.
Good memory.
Yeah, no. I mean, yeah, so what else is on the list?
Nothing crazy. Lying, cheating, poor communication, all the typical red flags.
I suspect that's on a list of people's, or a lot of people's deal breakers.
What about yours?
Yeah, very much the same. Though also not fond of anyone that doesn't like to travel by plane, as I travel a lot for work.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned that when we were talking on Mauve. What do you do for work?
It's well,
What? I mean, you can't tell me what you do for work? Or what are you, like CIA or a police officer?
listen, I think I could tell you if I were, but no, no, I'm neither of those. Um,
Then what?
I can't talk about it for the next 10 minutes.
Why?
Uh, Listen, my therapist thinks I need to define myself outside of work as I'm too comfortable using it to explain my entire identity.
You have a therapist.
I do.
What moved you to get a therapist?
Um, I I need to process some shit.
Is it helping?
Yeah, like I'm not entirely comfortable with it yet, but I do want to continue pushing myself to open up, you know?
Well, you're not doing bad with opening up on this date so far.
Good to know.
Okay, let's just go full steam ahead with some quick fire questions.
Okay. You want to start first?
Sure. What's your favorite color?
Really?
We can't talk about your occupation, so let's talk colors.
Hey, okay. Fine. So mine's purple, and what about yours?
Turquoise. Now you go.
As in, I get to ask a question?
Yes. Do you not know how this works?
Okay. I do. Now, um, what travel destination is like at the top of your bucket list?
Mexico City.
Okay. Interesting choice. Interesting choice. Why?
You don't get a follow-up question.
Oh, come on, that's not even fair. Like,
No, but those are the rules. You've got to answer one question right now. Come on.
dude, no, no, nope.
What?
Listen, I won't answer that question until you tell me why Mexico City is at the top of your list.
Jesus, fine. Okay. Well, my granddad is, well, was from Mexico City. I was supposed to take a trip there a couple years ago before he passed, but it didn't happen.
Why not?
I'd rather not talk about it.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Thanks. I'd love to just to go and at least experience the city, you know. My abuelo was the only living relative I had that still lived in Mexico.
Hmm. I mean, it is a vibrant city. Mm, yeah.
You've been?
Yeah. Actually, going back to attend a company conference in a few weeks, actually.
Lucky you.
Well, it's one way of putting it. Yeah,
Okay, well, you held off long enough. Top destination on your bucket list, if you even have one.
I do.
Really?
It's Bali. Yeah. Um, yeah. I just have this weird obsession with wanting to experience Bali for the first time with someone I'm, truly in love with.
And you haven't found that yet?
I thought I did at one point in my life.
And
Then I found out too late that I'd been betrayed.
oh, how'd you find out?
I'd rather not talk about it.
Okay.
Just then, the server approaches their table, placing several plates of food in front of them.
Here are your orders. The fried rice, the dumplings, char sweet chicken, and steamed rice. Can I get anything? Can I get you guys anything else?
I'm good, thanks.
Same here. No, thank you.
The server walks away, nodding in acknowledgement.
Okay, can you talk about your job now?
Gavin glances at his phone screen for the time.
Sure, sure.
So let's ask the $6 million question. What do you do for a living?
I am a senior associate of conflict resolution at Micro.
Okay. What does micro stand for, and what does your job entail?
Good questions. So, Micro stands for the Manhattan Institute of Conflict Resolution and Organization. Micro.
And what does that mean?
So essentially, they help clients take care of thorny issues they aren't interested in taking care of themselves.
Like what?
Like, litigation, international business affairs, corporate restructuring, etc. It's a lot of boring corporate types asking us to take care of things they'd rather not do so they can focus on other projects.
So you're a senior associate?
At Micro, yes.
Does that mean anything at your job?
Kinda. I mean, I get to travel a lot. Definitely get to travel a lot. Get to work on my own, and avoid being micromanaged by my own company. So I'm essentially an independent contractor.
Does your job at least come with benefits, if you don't mind me asking?
No, not at all. So I don't have to pay out of pocket for any corporate travel. I take, well, yeah, I don't have to pay out of pocket for any corporate travel I take, actually, or any related expenses, included conferences, and unless I'm requesting something that isn't included, like a travel upgrade or a personal expense.
Guess you're not allowed to live too large, huh?
Uh, Not on their dime.
You make my job sound boring by comparison. I-
I doubt that.
Well, it's not glamorous.
You work in you work in healthcare, right?
Yeah, as a registered nurse.
See? I mean, at least it's like far more important.
And far more stressful.
That's where a therapist comes in handy.
I'm sure they would if I could afford one.
Mm. No, yeah, touche, touche. They aren't cheap. I can attest to that. Either way, I imagine there are days when being a nurse is fulfilling on some level.
Oh, yeah. The clinic I work for does free STI testing for vulnerable youth and low-income communities from time to time. So I'm glad we're out there, especially for our community.
I mean, it's good to know they've got someone looking out for them. Yeah.
Yeah, if not us, who will?
Gavin grabs his glass of wine in his right hand.
I think that's worthy of a toast.
What is?
Uh, Fulfilling work.
Felix grabs his glass with his right hand, softly smiling at Gavin after doing so.
To fulfilling work.
Felix
Yeah.
and Gavin clink their glasses and take a sip of their respective drinks. Exterior, Chinese restaurant, later. Felix and Gavin stand a few inches apart, facing each other as they smile in silence.
So,
So,
I really enjoyed tonight.
so did I.
Hmm. You want to do this again sometime?
No.
Oh,
Oh my God, you are so cute.
what are you talking about?
Of course, I want to go on another date with you. I'd love to do this again sometime.
Okay, okay, okay.
And you can breathe.
Gavin's mind flashes back to his therapy session as the memory of those words being uttered by himself come flooding back to his mind.
What?
Nothing, nothing.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I'll reach out.
Felix starts to walk very slowly backward away from Gavin.
Not if I do first.
Take care. Take care.
Take care, Gavin.
The end.
Woo!
Great job, everyone.
Yes. As soon as I got connected, yes, we got the ball.
Hey,
Yes.
it's technology. Things happen.
And I am in the woods.
Okay. So how was this for you, Jake?
Great. Like I enjoyed it the whole way through. It was
Oh,
fantastic just hearing it and seeing it perform. Like definitely helped sort of bring a lot of it to life. Yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. I just like it felt different. Like no matter how many times I'd gone over it in my head, like I felt different just experiencing this read. Yeah. Everyone was fantastic, by the way.
oh, thank you.
Well, thanks a lot for sharing your vision with us. So, what was the inspiration for writing this particular piece?
That's a great question. So initially, in terms of this piece, I had the idea to write a show about work, sort of figuring out how best to, or like who people are outside of work. And I had sort of this idea a few years ago, and wanted to set it in an office. And then Severance came out, and I was like, oh no, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Um, but then the idea for me sort of popped in my head of what if I took this in a direction that sort of dealt with characters or dealt with at least a lead character in a world that you where their work is their entire life. Um, and that's when I thought the idea of a hitman would be perfect. And so that's sort of where the nucleus of this started. In terms of like the script itself, like the portion that was read sort of is that last third of the pilot. And the pilot delves deep into understanding Gavin and sort of his life at this point, in which he's sort of doing very well at this very mystery company that sort of on the outside seems just like a lot of corporate speak, but really is just sort of running this sort of underground ring of hitmen who do incredible work, and Gavin sort of at the top of his field. And you sort of get to see him start to unpack a lot of himself, his emotions, and sort of open himself up. And so that's sort of where sort of this first episode does, especially in that last third, as I said, where you get to learn more about him with his therapist, and then sort of discovering, himself romantically with Felix. And so that's where I decided to sort of anchor this story,
Mhm.
and really wanted to sort of delve deep into, themes of masculinity, of like understanding sort of also, what it means sort of for somebody, especially someone being Black, in a role such as that to, be in a place where they are well respected, but sort of still maligned in some way, and sort of hiding who they are, figuring out how much of themselves they want to reveal. And so that sort of was for me something that was really important in writing this script, and that's sort of how it came about.
So, this is a beginning of a series?
Yes, so it's the beginning of a series, which like I wrote. I like spent time writing out the world and like pitch deck the whole thing. But yeah, it's the beginning of a series that unpacks, sort of this world that he's in, and you learn a lot from this series about the world in which he's in, how it works. That first, sort of the first season of, in terms of this script, in terms of this world, unpacks sort of a lot about that, and it does it through the characters themselves, so being more character driven. And then also learning a lot about Gavin himself. You learn in the first episode quite a few things about him, especially within the first two thirds that you wouldn't expect to learn the last third. So, learning, before he goes into that therapist's office that he likes hooking up, that he's great at his job. You learn that he's bi as well. And these sorts of things play into that role. And sort of that's for me more than anything what I'd want to do with this sort of series is unpack all those things and see sort of how they work, as well as the fact that he's, having to be a version of himself that's appealing to Felix, but hiding that part that he knows Felix might not necessarily understand immediately.
Well, especially since Felix is in a healing position, and it sounds like Gavin is the opposite of healing. So, yeah, that's great.
I was having a great time my entire life, clearly. You know,
Were there any surprises for you, Jake, in the reading? Like anything's like, wow, we never thought of it that way, from the actors reading it?
I think, yeah, I would say the surprise for me more so because I think I've always sort of written Felix to be someone who was more vibrant than Jamal is, and I think that comes through really well, and so especially sort of the way they speak. But I think just that coming to life, like Raphael just did, like I really felt Felix sort of come through the screen. But then like with Jamal just sort of always being more so guarded, because that is Gavin. He is just someone who I wrote to sort of be someone who is more protective in that, in understanding he is that way because he has to be for his job. And Felix sort of getting in there, chipping away bit by bit. Yeah, no, I that for me more than anything was sort of, I'd say, surprised than anything. But no, yeah, no, I absolutely love the reading.
So, did listening to it make you want to change anything, or did it confirm something you had originally thought? Was there anything where it's like, huh?
Oh, you're muted, Colette. Oh, Andrea.
I muted myself instead.
Yeah.
So,
that was extremely expressive.
so
Yeah.
it was like, listening to it. Was there anything that, like, sort of made you say, oh, wait, maybe I'm going to change this a little bit, or confirm something? Yes, I nailed it. This is exactly what I wanted to do, or anything just from hearing it.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. On I think for me, I definitely confirmed for sure that, especially with the scene in which you first see him, uh, Gavin with Colette sort of in, his therapist's office, I definitely want to focus maybe a little bit more on helping to unpack sort of more about how Gavin is and why he is. I know I spend a fair amount of time, understanding sort of where he is up until that point, but sort of getting into his mind maybe a little bit more is something that I love to delve into. I definitely also will say that it confirmed for me for sure that Felix definitely, plays very well in terms of being the opposite, but then sort of being people who are also guarded. I think that's something I wanted to make sure came across, and I really sort of confirmed for me that's something we see from Felix, because one of the things I want to explore with the show is understanding sort of how people sort of perform sort of different versions of themselves, and how that comes across and what they choose to show and hide. And so that's why for me in that episode you see sort of Felix get asked about why he doesn't want to go to Mexico, or why he hasn't gone to Mexico City yet, and him not wanting to answer that. And so for me, like I really want to delve into that also a bit more, in sort of showing that idea of that, whether it's someone, it's easy to spot when someone's really guarded, but then it becomes a little harder when someone seems to be sort of more open, more exuberant, more sort of like extroverted, to sort of notice where they might then be more guarded about certain parts of their life.
And are any of the characters based on anyone that you know or yourself, or?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I will say that in terms of the characters, I wouldn't say that I based them specifically on anyone specific, but I think especially with the idea of the show itself, it did sort of help sort of confirm, sort of where I was going. When I in a previous job I did, I'd ask a lot of sort of intro questions in that job, and one of them was, who are you outside of work? And I'd realized that a lot of the time, the people I asked very much could give me a 10-minute monologue about what they do and go into everything. But then when it came to that question, it was sort of, I have a couple kids, I do X or Y on the weekends, and that's about it. And so for me, I really wanted to create characters that, when asked that sort of that question, especially someone like Gavin versus Felix, you get the sense that Gavin doesn't know how to express who he is outside of work more so than he doesn't know, because that's something I think is really important to sort of distinguish versus Felix, who knows exactly who he is outside of work, but is very guarded about very specific pieces of that.
Okay. And for the actors, any comments on the reading or the character or anything like that?
I kind of want to just know if you think I portrayed the character correctly as far as emotion wise.
Yeah, I would say overall, yes. I do, like I said, I think that the thing that came through mostly with it is just sort of Gavin always being someone who seemed to be more, how do I put it, calculated in terms of how he came across. So it was always, he knew how to approach things, but he always had that guard up. And that became more relaxed, which I truly appreciate, like in the date with Felix, that scene, versus being in the therapist's office where it's a bit more proper and he's just sort of focused on trying to be more guarded, as it were, versus sort of, feeling as though he can open up. And so for me, so one of the things I really want to explore is why is it that when it comes to, being able to answer questions about, favorite travel destinations and so forth, it's easy. But then when it's getting into, things about his life, that's when it's a bit more harder. I think that sort of groundwork is laid out very well by performance. Yeah,
Okay, great. Just wants to, yeah, embody things properly. So cool. Glad we made that connection. Okay, great.
absolutely. No, thanks for that, Jim.
Yeah, I think for me, I really enjoyed the character of Felix, and I enjoyed the back and forth with Gavin, and you did a phenomenal job of just uh, making these really hard topics sometimes that people don't want to talk about, just writing it in a way that makes it very accessible, and I really enjoy that. It makes it a nice little banter back and forth. Um, I think having the actors live in the room, you'll get a lot of more of that quickness, with the zoom and the latency and all that. But even through here, you can still feel that in the writing, and it was really beautiful and magical to experience. So thank you so much, Jake, for sharing this with us.
Perfect. No, thank you very much. And like one thing, actually, one other thing I will definitely add to Felix's character, I'm giving him a cat. I'm giving him a cat. Felix is getting a cat. I'm just like the whole time you read, I was like, you know what? I think Felix would like Felix would be because Felix is
Yes.
so much love to share. I'm like, yes, Felix has
Just
to
for
get a
the
cat.
audience, Rafael has a cat sitting
Yes.
next to him.
Well, he's moved now because he's a cat and he does whatever he wants. But yes, he was here for literally almost all the time.
Like, all stories over. All right, I'm gonna go ahead. Okay, that's funny. Um,
I really like the way you wrote the therapist. What a wonderful person to know. I mean, I like the way the therapist is saying thank you and hey, don't discount this about yourself, and I just like the way that was. Where are you? Like, what's next for this, Jake? Does it now? Are you anywhere near filming? Are you still writing? Like, what? Where are you in the process?
That's a good question. So I've written the pilot. I'm actually like I very much have sort of laid out almost sort of line by line the entire first season for myself. And so sort of give myself the goal of sort of writing that first season, and just immersing myself in the world more so. And in the meantime, I just want to keep pitching this project, and getting it off the ground for sure. That's sort of me, like to where I see this going forward for sure. And yeah, just find sort of well, hopefully one day find a home for it for sure. I was gonna actually say, I know with regard to the character of Colette, I was very intentional about making sure that that portrayal was particularly accurate. I know that I've had therapy sessions before, and I've had a friend of mine who I'd spoken with sort of about very much what, who is a therapist, sort of what sort of things they truly feel really would entail, or, in terms of portrayals, what would be most accurate. They said more than anything, they wanted to, one thing they cared about is seeing a therapist that took the time to respect the space of the client they saw. And so that for me was sort of intentional in terms of approaching that character and sort of creating someone who would, create that space and leave it open for Gavin no matter what. And so that's sort of something I care very much about, them being able to do that space, but also, being tactful in terms of communicating, the truth, no matter what it looked like to Gavin.
And I've actually been a therapist, have the degree and everything. Our first day, yes. And I hope everyone comes tonight to the MFA for our opening night films. And then they'll, after almost every night after films, there's a filmmaker hangout, and so there'll be a different restaurant that we go to afterwards. Like tonight, it'll be Lucy, and then tomorrow at noon there'll be another reading, and with a whole different writers cast. Everything's entirely different. We've got, it runs the gamut this time. We have dramas, we have horror, we have thrillers, we have all kinds of readings and all kinds of films. So I hope everyone will come to the film festival. But I had a blast reading your script. I loved it. Thank you for what you wrote. And thank you to each and every one of our actors. Maria had to leave, but you guys did a phenomenal job. I was with it the whole time. So thank you. Alrighty.
Thanks very much, everyone, once again. I truly appreciate it. The time, the effort, everything. I really thoroughly enjoyed it, just bringing it to life. So, yeah, thank you so much.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Much appreciated. Have a good one.
All right.
Bye-bye.